The Outlanders Journey. Tier 1, Level 1. Chapter 3. Bach. You're passing through this strange town called Harrington. It's a quaint place, lined with tiny cobblestone structures built into the surrounding nature. There are homes constructed out of the outcroppings of the mountains, thatch-roofed cottages, and even a central building carved out of a giant oak tree. The dwellings are small, with ceilings just barely above your head and doors reaching only your shoulders. And yet, something about this place reminds you of home. There's life all around you. The trees, especially from a distance, give off a calming blue glow. The only thing here that's unfitting is the paved road, carved straight into the town without any care for its natural flow. The streets are completely empty, and the three of you scurry quietly in the dead of night. Wearing these new goggles, you can see much farther ahead in the dark. Both Laurel and Maya Lee have changed their appearance to look like dwarves. Laurel, an older, scruffy man. Maya Lee, a young girl with braided long hair and a flowing brown dress. You close your eyes and imagine Elithor's dwarven appearance. The long beard, the stout figure, the heavy build, and the blue-gray uniform. And in a flash, your disguise manifests. Up ahead, Laurel points to a wooden sign that he reads aloud, "Now leaving Harrington." You can see the faint outline of the trees, smell the rain-soaked wood. A swarm of bats spews out of a distant cave from the mountains. Home. It's real. And you're almost there. You picture yourself running through fields of fragrant flowers, stepping into the cool morning dew, Mama embracing you warmly. Soon, you'll have no more nightmares reliving the blood gushing out of Laurel's stomach, the moment of Mr. Sanos' death, his skull cracking against the hard basement floor. Out of all of you, Laurel seems to get tired the most easily, probably because you nearly killed him. You wonder how much he is masking his pain for your sake. How could you have not recognized him, the most selfless person you've ever met? It was like you had lost your entire personhood. You, a disgusting, hideous monster. Never again. You can never let yourself hurt him again. "Sorry," says Laurel, gasping for breath as he clutches his stomach. "I need to take a quick break. I'm not as in shape as you two." He collapses to the ground, squeezing desperately the last few drops from his water skin into his mouth. He wipes his brow. It's impressive how realistic his disguise looks. He can even make himself look like he's really sweating. You hand him your water skin, still half full. "I can carry you." No, I'm fine," he says, still panting heavily. "I just need a couple of minutes." He accepts your water skin, drinking thirstily. Maya Lee plops down next to him and rests her head on his shoulder. She closes her eyes. The road is largely empty at this time, still hours before sunrise. Parked along the sides, a few feet off the road, are several carriages, smaller than the one that Elithor drove. While most appear to be empty, there's muffled snoring inside a few. "Laurel?" you ask. "There are people in those carriages. Is that dangerous for us?" Maya Lee lifts her head nervously. Laurel scans the area, squinting at each individual carriage. "These seem like civilian carriages. They're just other travelers like us. I guess they opted to camp out instead of staying at one of the inns nearby. Even if they see us, we'll be fine. They'll just think we're a family of traveling dwarves." He pats Maya Lee on the head, coaxing her back onto his shoulder. "Don't worry." "Are there dangerous people we should avoid?" asks Maya Lee. "Probably guards, if they're here, and any military. We just need to act natural around them. They drive these big, stupid carriages with a giant blue lion's head painted on the side. You can't miss them. Our theater troupe had to work closely with the military. I was part of the performing group that recruited travelers instead of soldiers, but it was all part of the same division. The army is organized, but most of the members are new draftees. Anyway, they won't recognize us as long as we're disguised. Are they going to take us back to New Everlon? Asks Maya Lee. No. They don't even know who we are. We just need to stay calm and stay on track. Laurel stretches his arms and cracks his knuckles. As he stands, he helps Maya Lee to her feet. I'm all right now. Let's keep going. Hours pass, and you see the first glimmer of sunlight. You've been going non-stop ever since your short break. The light of dawn hits the trees, and you all realize that you've already entered the great forest a while back without realizing it. What started out as a few scattered trees every few feet slowly grew into true woodlands. In your exhaustion, none of you seem to have noticed the crunching of autumn leaves beneath your feet until now. You tilt your head back and gaze up into the canopy. You remember how gigantic the forest appeared when you were a child, like everything could grow endlessly into the heavens. Even now, the trees seem to rise beyond the clouds, drifting down as a constant shower of fluttering leaves. A mourning dove coos, and a chickadee sings a nostalgic melody. In the distance, you recognize the drilling of a woodpecker. Something flaps its wings above you, lifting off a tree branch and soaring away. Maya Lee catches a maple leaf in the air and begins to peel away the blades, leaving only its stem and veins. She twirls it between her fingers. A blue jay perches directly above you, letting out a high-pitched call. Without thinking twice, you wave at it. "Good morning," you say, and you recall your daily routine of greeting your animal neighbors. The blue jay hops along the branch, gazing at you curiously. It chirps again, this time at you. You offer a finger as you extend your arm toward it. The blue jay tilts its head back and forth, hopping along the branch a few more times. Then it opens its wings and floats down, gripping its tiny talons onto your finger. "Hello, friend," you say. You swivel around to show off your new friend, but Maya Lee and Laurel are already staring at you, mouths agape. "What was that?" says Laurel. "You can talk to animals?" "A little bit," you say. "Plants, too." "Have you always been able to?" You nod. Gently, you run your fingers down the bird's back. It ruffles its feathers, then calls out again. Another blue jay responds in the distance. The one you befriended hops up to your fingertips, glancing at you one more time before it opens its wings and flutters off. "Bye-bye," you say. "That's an amazing ability you have," says Laurel. "It'll really come in handy here." "Oh," you say. You're glad to hear you can be useful for once. "It's not hard." "Well, I can't do it. Can you, Maya Lee?" Maya Lee shakes her head. Laurel smiles, patting you on the back. His hand is soft to the touch, and his voice is calming. Something about it reminds you of Mr. Senos when he's kind, when he's proud of you. You miss him still. You miss his embrace, his cooing voice. You wish he could see you talking to animals. You think back to that moment on those basement steps, the crack of his body impacting the cold floor, the numbness in your hands as you pushed him down. You glance back at the other two, still smiling back at you. Laurel's blood in your hands, the knife lodged in his stomach, the fear in Maya Lee's eyes. There is something fundamentally wrong with you, no matter where you go. The sun has fully risen. It peeks through the dense forest, warming your weary bodies. Maya Lee points ahead at the road as it veers sharply to the left. Laurel nods. "That's the turning point. We've been going north up until now, but once it turns, it means we're past the mountains, and the road shifts west. It's gotta be the Great Westward Road for a reason." "Where do we go now?" you ask. Says Laurel. "From what the maps told me, north of the turning point is the official INA border." He narrows his eyes at the trees beyond the road. Nothing but dense woodlands. "But I don't see any signs or border guards. I don't know where to enter. Then how do we go in? Asks Smiley. Says Laurel. This is the part I was hoping one of you would know a little better. How do they protect their borders? You and Miley shrug. You have no idea what a border guard is. All right, well, the books told me nothing either. Maybe we can just go in? Should we change how we look? Asks Miley. Oh, right, yeah. He glances at you. Your disguise already faded hours ago. What do you think? We can be a family of furbolgs. Miley nods. The three of you edge to the side of the road, ducking under the shadows of a large maple tree. It's still early enough that the road is relatively empty, with only a few carriages passing by every few minutes. Miley touches her hat and her appearance transforms into a young furbolg girl with a pink button nose and large green eyes, wearing a brown cloak with baggy pants. Laurel turns away from you two and his form shifts, his skin graying, his ears drooping down, and his arms and legs lengthening. You notice that the way Laurel changes is different from Miley, whose disguise simply appears on top of her form. Okay, so what's our story then? Asks Laurel. What are our names? Can I be Bella? Asks Miley. Sure, good name. I'll be Baron. All of us are siblings trying to get back home. We were separated from our families and wound up outside the border of the INA. We escaped, and we're just trying to get back. You and Miley nod. Laurel's so smart, coming up with believable stories like this so quickly. Laurel gives you a thumbs up. Are we ready then? You two nod again. You continue for another 20 minutes or so before reaching the turning point. Laurel puts a finger to his lips and motions for the two of you to stay behind him. Let me go first, he whispers. He leans against a large maple tree, peeking his head in. He takes one step forward, now fully off the road. You hear a fluttering, then the sound of more chirping birds, but it doesn't seem quite right. More like an imitation. A branch snaps. Laurel stiffens. Hello? He asks, gazing up. We're just trying to get back in the forest. We're not intruders. You also lift your head up. It's hard to tell, but far up into the skies, you see circular wooden patterns built around the tree trunks. Something soars across your field of vision in a blur, then another set of fake chirping sounds. There are people here watching you. Is someone here? Laurel takes another step, crunching down on the leaves, his foot sinking into the soft soil. We're a family of furbolgs trying to get home. Another branch cracks above you, and then something releases. Whizzing through the air, an arrow flies just over Laurel's head, impaling itself into the tree trunk. All three of you freeze in place. Slowly, Laurel raises both arms up in the air. A booming voice from above calls out, first in a language you can't understand, then in Sylvan. Step back on the road. Laurel looks over his shoulder at you before glancing up. My brother, my sister, and I are from the forest. We are returning home after a long time away. His accent sounds different now, like he's imitating how you and Miley talk. The voice calls out again. Step back on the road. This is your only warning. Laurel, you whisper, come back. Carefully, he backs himself up until both feet are planted securely on the paved road. There is a rustle in the leaves. Large gray wings spread open. A robin-like aarakocra leaps into the air, soaring down and landing almost soundlessly on a branch just above Laurel's head. He is wearing hide armor, with tufts of his vibrantly red breast feathers poking out. He holds out a bow and arrow, nocked and pointed at the three of you, his eyes black and beady. You are in the wrong place to enter the forest, says the aarakocra. I apologize, says Laurel, his hands still up. We haven't been home in many, many years, and we no longer know how things work around here. Please, we only want to reunite with our family." The Aarakocra takes a moment to examine each of you. As you straighten your back, you try to swallow, but your mouth is dry. "What are 3 furbolgs doing this far south?" asks the Aarakocra. "We were abducted, sir," says Laurel. "Your names?" "I am Bayron. This is my sister, Bella. This is my brother, Bach." The Aarakocra is still staring at each of you, unblinking. You keep your back straightened, with your hands stiffly at your sides. Finally, he lowers his bow and stows his arrow back into its quiver. "You said you were abducted? How? By whom?" "By a powerful mage from New Everlon. He has been using memory-altering spells on us, so a lot of the details are unclear. But if you can just lead us to the right place for us to enter the forest, we promise we won't be a bother." "How long ago was this abduction?" Laurel peers at you. You summon all the saliva you can before opening your mouth. 7 years?" you say. "And you were recently released?" asks the Aarakocra. "We barely escaped," says Laurel. The Aarakocra peers at Mayalee, and he sighs. He scratches his beak. "Listen," he says. "We've had to institute several new laws since the treaty. You are aware of the treaty, correct?" Laurel nods. "We've had many foreign travelers try to enter the forest without permission. In the treaty, we've been permitted to maintain our territory and control the movement of traffic." He points up at the trees. "We have guards all along this east-west section of the road to make sure no one enters." "I understand," says Laurel, "but you must recognize that we are from the forest. We are not citizens of New Everlon." The Aarakocra sighs again. "We have issued all INA natives special badges to prove your citizenship. Show them at the official entry point in Timberland Clearing. It's 3 days west along the road. You can't miss it." "Badges?" says Mayalee. "How long ago did you issue these badges?" asks Laurel. "A year ago." Mayalee takes a step forward, breathing heavily in anger. "We had to escape from our kidnapper," she says. "Do you think we'd have a badge if he took everything from us?" You're caught off guard by the intensity of her voice, the desperation. You feel completely useless right now. What good are you besides being lumbering, stupid dead weight? Laurel places a hand on her shoulder, coaxing her back. "Sir, you must understand how ludicrous it is to expect that we have year-old badges when we've been gone for 7 years." "I'm sorry," says the Aarakocra, "but there is nothing I can do. The law is the law. Even if you have the badges, you'll still have to go through the entry point. Not here." You can smell the tree bark, the fresh soil, the dense, verdant forest only a few steps ahead. It's so close. Home is right there. You can reach out and touch it. "Hold on," says Laurel, his tone more indignant. "You realize that the very reason we're in our current situation is because you all let some power-tripping mage enter the forest and kidnap their own people, right? Now you're only further endangering us by not letting us back in." "I understand your frustration," says the Aarakocra, "but I am only a guard. My job is to protect the forest line and maintain order on the road. I don't have any authority besides guarding the road, and you haven't had to deal with the kinds of people who pass through. I've seen every kind of disguise, every kind of magic trick to convince one of us that they are allowed to come in. We can't make any exceptions. It's not enough that I believe you." "Then we have nowhere to go," Mayalee yells. You realize she's crying. "Is there nothing you can do for us?" asks Laurel. "Please, we just want to go home. Anything like a spare badge or a written exception will save us at Timberland Clearing." The Aarakocra leaps down to the ground, finally at eye level with all of you.
I am truly sorry, but I simply don't have that kind of power. Not myself, not my boss, not my boss's boss. But listen, the current law only applies to the southern INA. As far as I know, the western and northern regions have different border laws. I would venture to guess that the northern INA is the most lax, and since you are all from there, you should only need to show your faces to get in.
How do you expect us to get to the north? Asks Laurel.
There is, as you can see, the road.
You're making us go around? Says Laurel.
Even if you enter the forest in the southern INA, you'll still have to travel up north. In terms of distance, it's not that much farther to go around.
But we won't have the protection of the forest, says Laurel. The Aarakocra looks up and whistles loudly, with the same pattern of bird calls that you heard earlier. The pattern repeats over and over again in a chain, traveling further west. Finally, a new chirping cadence is sent back, and the Aarakocra, hearing it, nods.
All right. I sent out a message. Stay close to the forest line and we'll keep an eye on you. We can't let you in, but we can keep the elves from causing you trouble. For your sake, I'll also let the entry point know about you. They might make an exception as long as you prove you're really furbolgs from the north.
Laurel sighs. Is there really no option for us to come in here? What difference does it make for you? The Aarakocra shakes his head.
I can't disobey my orders. If I bend the rules for you, I'd have to bend them for everyone.
Then don't bend them for the other people, shouts Maya Lee, sloppily wiping her eyes. We're telling the truth.
I am truly sorry.
Laurel shakes his head as he coaxes her away. Thank you, sir. Can I ask what your name is?
My name is Zil, but I don't think knowing my name will be much help for your case.
He cups his hands, holding them out, and begins to hum an incantation, a tune that you instantly recognize. Berries pop out, one at a time, in his palms, just like they did for Mama.
These good berries will last 24 hours, and you only need to eat one to satisfy your hunger for the entire day. You can use these as sustenance for the next 2 days. They also have some minor healing properties.
Laurel gazes at the berries, then glances back at you as he forces a subtle smile. He cocks his head toward Zil, motioning for you to come up and accept the gift. You approach and cup your hands together. Gingerly, Zil pours the berries in. Mama's were sometimes juicy red raspberries, and sometimes frozen cranberries that you could store in your cheek. Zil's resemble blueberries, plump and glistening. Thank you, says Laurel.
There are inns along the road if you need shelter, though I would be cautious of the ones owned by the non-Aarakocra. They may not look too kindly on non-elves. There is also a temple that houses any and all travelers for free.
A temple? Says Laurel. For which deity?
The Everlight.
I am not aware of that one, says Laurel.
She is a lesser god at this point, but she specializes in healing. Her followers are trustworthy. They'll treat you kindly if you ask for help, and they won't ask any questions.
What kind of people go there? Asks Laurel.
Mostly New Everlonians. Lots of soldiers. It's a popular stopping point for them.
Laurel shakes his head. We can't go near them. A place with a military presence? We can't trust any of them anymore given what's happened to us. Zil nods.
I understand.
Are there many places here with a high military presence?
The soldiers are all headed to Ellie, as far as we can tell. Stay out of the center of the road. We notice they get rowdy when their carriages are blocked.
Laurel nods. Thank you for all the information.
You're welcome,
says Zil.
Again, I apologize. I wish you the best of luck, Bayron, Bella, and Bach.
He spreads his wings again, and with a jumping start, he soars back into the sky, disappearing into the canopy. Laurel sighs and slouches his shoulders. I'm sorry, you two.
I was stupid for thinking it'd be this easy.
Laurel, you say, still gingerly holding the berries. We will go home, right? We will make it? I hope so, he mumbles. Then, hearing himself, he shakes his head. No, we'll be fine. We'll make it. We just need to stick together, all right? Miley wraps her arms around Laurel, pressing her face into his chest. I want to go home, she whimpers. I know, says Laurel, running his fingers through her hair. We can try the entry point? You say. Miley shakes her head. I'm not a furbolg. Well, you are a wood elf, aren't you? But they'll just think I'm from New Everlon because I don't look like an Aarakocra or a furbolg. I don't have my badge. Laurel sighs, and he holds her tightly. Shh. It's all right. It's just a little setback. Besides, if things went too smoothly, we'd be saying our goodbyes already. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're stuck with me for a little while longer. Maya Lee doesn't say anything back, still weeping softly. This is your fault. Had you not been stuck down there for so long, it might have been easier to get into the forest. Why did you allow yourself to stay there for 7 whole years? 7 years of pining for something that never came. You were a fool. You lean down and tap her on the shoulder, offering a berry. Hungry? There's nothing else you can do. She shakes her head. Don't worry, says Laurel. It's like Zill said. Either way, we need to go north. We can go north through the forest, or we can go north around the forest. But either way, north is north. And you always know where north is, right, Maya Lee? She sniffles. Then she nods slowly. Laurel kneels, carefully lowering her down with him. He takes a berry from your hand, rotating it between his thumb and index finger. Maya Lee, you have to eat. He gingerly takes her hand and places the berry in her palm. We haven't eaten anything all day. He looks up at you. And look at this. It's kind of like Mama's magic berries, isn't it? We get to try it finally. You squat down, forcing yourself to smile and play along. They're not Mama's berries. Hers were so vibrant and beautiful, but perhaps this is the closest thing you'll get for the time being. Yeah, you say. Mama's berries. They will taste so good. Maya Lee lets go, smearing snot on her wrist. She nods, staring at the berry in her hand. The 3 of you sit in a small circle by the edge. Carriages and other travelers are passing by in greater numbers now. Many of them gawk at you suspiciously. So, just one of these can make you full for a day, huh? Says Laurel in a playful tone, elbowing you. If I didn't know any better, I'd eat the whole handful, and my stomach would probably explode. You try to force out a laugh. I tried that once, and Mama got very mad. Did your stomach grow this big? Laurel gestures with his arms open wide. No, you say, shaking your head. 2 berries and 1 berry feel the same. Ah, I get it. It doesn't go past your full point, no matter how many you eat. You nod. Mama was mad because I wasted all of her food. You glance at Maya Lee, who's still hanging her head, but she seems to be listening. Try it, you say, nudging her. It's my favorite food. We'll eat at the same time, all right? Says Laurel, raising the berry to his mouth. 1, 2, 3. You all pop them into your mouths simultaneously. The skin breaks, and an intense tartness bursts in your mouth, almost like someone took the essence of 100 unripe blueberries and concentrated it into a single tiny bite. Instantly, as you swallow, you sense that satiating effect, an immediate boost in vitality and energy. Oh shit! Laurel's entire face scrunches up as he puts his hand to his mouth. That's a blueberry. That's definitely a blueberry. Maya Lee puckers her lips. She coughs, pounding her fist against her chest. She starts hiccuping non-stop. Laurel snickers, trying to hold back his laughter. Through her hiccups, she, too, can't help but start giggling. Her teeth are tinged blue, and it makes you laugh for real. You want more than anything for them to be happy. Fuck. Did mamas taste like this too? Asks Laurel. You shake your head vehemently. No! Your passionate response only provokes further laughter from the both of them, and Maya Lee cups her hands over her mouth, hiccuping repeatedly. Mamas were sweet and delicious, I promise! I really hope they were. Fucking hells. Laurel wipes his eyes. Don't worry, Bach. I believe you. This is no comparison. You can't expect some small-minded, obsequious border guard to make anything as good as Mama. He glances up and begins shaking his fist at the sky theatrically. Stop, says Maya Lee, grabbing his arm. They can see you. She's still laughing. Oops. Sorry. When you try Mama's berries, you'll see, you say. Laurel smiles. I know. He pats Maya Lee's head. Hey, but think of it like this. The fact that we're eating magic berries at all means we're getting closer to home, right? You nod. We're taking a nice, long hike through this beautiful forest. You know how far those rich city elves will go for a tiny little view of nature? Meanwhile, we get to sleep under ancient trees for free. You know he's only trying to placate Maya Lee. He's good at convincing people with his words, almost like Mr. Senos. Can already sense his pull on you. You don't want to disappoint him. Your savior. He's given up everything for you. Each day with Laurel is fun. He's kind. Each day with him marks a new achievement, a new discovery for you. Further west are the shimmering blue mountains, unimpeded by artificial buildings, and you realize that everything here is familiar. Not just in the way that a forest looks similar even in different locations. You've been here, specifically. Perhaps it's because you're sitting down, positioned closer to your height as a 10-year-old child. Your mother, holding your hand as your father suddenly collapses to the ground. Snow up to your waist in howling winds, scaling the sides of the blue mountains. The air thin, your face numb. Don't let go, Mama, you said. Don't leave me.